Hey guys, hello, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're coming from. We just want to give you a warm welcome here from Apparel Redefined. John LaRoy, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great, Kurt. How are you?
Oh my goodness gracious, I am doing phenomenal. And as a matter of fact, you know what, John, I hate to do this to you. Man, I got this wonderful holiday card from the LaRoy family. Look at that baby. So beautiful kids, wonderful wife. So thank you.
You're
Love
welcome.
your
Thanks
love
for
your holiday card. So whatever time you're catching this, guys, we've got a great conversation ahead of us. So Randy Korwin is in the house. Randy, hello, how are you? What's going on, man?
Hello, guys. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Glad to be here.
Well, we are thrilled. So do us a little background check for us, if you will. So you've we were before we jumped live, we were talking about your college background. Kind of, it sounds like you have a little artistic flair, if you will. Just share a little bit on like early stages of Randy. We want to dive into your entrepreneurial journey, and then we'll go from there. Just give us a little bit of your background.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, creative is kind of like, my wheelhouse. I went to Columbia College in Chicago for film photography major, studied that for a couple of years, and then actually got a job in uh, the career of commercial photography as an assistant, worked my way up to my own little brand called RMK Photo. And then that got me working with creative agencies and clients for the past 20 years. From there, like just a small offshoots of different like entrepreneurial ventures with friends. A while back, we did a little book that kind of helped photographers get in front of creative directors. And that was a business that we started, and unfortunately, we got kind of like taken over by other people in the business, and so we transitioned that into other things. And then from there, just growing up skateboarding, I had with buddies around. We kind of created a fun little like game to help teach kids the language of skateboarding. So we repurposed a 52 deck of playing cards, and then used that to take the language of skateboarding, which is its own little small subculture, and then be able to illustrate. So you can look at a card, scan a QR code and see what the trick looks like, corresponding with the name, and then a new kid can come up really easy playing a game. So from there, like we just kind of always try to find some sort of avenue of entrepreneurship to bring something to the market that can help people.
Awesome. Okay, lots to unpack right there, dude. So 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 from college, you shared like a wonderful opportunity. You talked about your photography business. I'm going to pull that up in a minute, but just share a little bit. Kind of like, did you have a vision plan when you went to college? Like, all of us were like, "Hey, this is what my life's going to look like," and then you get a lot of curveballs or different directions in life. What was early stages of your career with your creativity, photography? Let's go there, like early 20s, post college-ish. What did that look like?
Sure. I never really knew exactly, like, like where my artistic endeavors were going to take me until like I had a writer friend look at an image of mine, and she just like, I can write a story about this photo. And from that, it kind of was, I'm like, okay, I can make a photo that can tell a story, and it really just set it off in that value for me. So I started looking at things a little bit differently, like when I'm framing things and kind of really compiling, like what's in front of my camera to help really isolate what the story is, and then that really led me into the advertising world of photography. So from there, like getting into that, like you usually start at the bottom as an assistant and slowly work your way up until you build relationships with art directors, art buyers, and stuff like that, and you work on your marketing to get yourself out there and build your own brand and your own identity and how you shoot. And it really comes down to the idea of how you can solve a problem, because something happens, the weather changes, there's all these different things. So it's really about being able to be calm under the scrutiny of somebody watching what you're doing, but also being able to bring the solution to the problem that you didn't know was there before. So it could be a lighting, it could be the sun is cloudy, it could be now it's raining, now you got to move locations, or the talent's not working, and you just got to be able to work inside that environment. And that's where I really felt like I like strived and kind of like keeping everybody calm and relaxed, and like we're going to get the shot. If we're going to make it happen, it's no big deal. But at the same time, keeping everybody relaxed really makes a better experience. And that's where like, I did for the past 20 years as a photographer.
Gosh, I said that's powerful advice, man. Where were you 30 years ago? As I was like stressed out, man. So, John, I might still have some hair left if we're. All right, let's go here. Let's jump into. I'm going to start here with your photography website. Then we're going to jump into. You really piqued everybody's curiosity with this cool game that you have. We're going to dive into that. But just share a little bit about what's going on here. You've got some phenomenal photos. Just tell us what you're capturing here.
For sure. Like sometimes you do a little bit of personal work that helps kind of like bring your vision of how you see things forward. And while we're scrolling through, you can see there's family portrait. That's just those are my friends. We would do their photos for their holiday cards, but then I would like keep them a little bit longer for a concept. So we would do these things where it's like we wanted to have like this like super mom scenario, whereas like the backbone is a good Mother's Day like concept. And so what we end up doing their holiday card for them for their own personal use, I go, well, let me photograph this so I can do a marketing push out for Mother's Day for all these ad agencies. So I would end up making this into a postcard that would then go out to agencies to help them kind of like know my style and what I do. And then from that, I would get like jobs. So if you go into the top right corner where it is a direct result, Continental Tires then reached out to us because they wanted to like showcase like their tires and their vehicles, but also the relationship with people in their day-to-day life and what they're doing. So we then went out and shot these for their ad campaign. So that would be kind of the stuff that we would get from doing a personal project that would get the marketing to get to in the hands of the people that would then hire me. So from that, we just kind of just do a lot of different things as far as do a lot of lifestyle and a lot of like creative concept and portraiture. So if it's something a little like off the beaten path, or it's more of a lifestyle environmental portraiture of people.
Man, I absolutely love it. And so you struck a chord right there. I want for entrepreneurs out there, you're talking about like, I felt like you kind of went into like a little bit of a business development. So you took your creative juices and so, hey, this is my buddy and his family. We did this. And so now you got on the offensive and started sending it out and it actually converted into business. Walk us through like, your 20-year success, like, how, for new entrepreneur out there. So like your younger self 20 years ago, walk us through that process of like what has really been a winner for you as far as like driving new business like that. I really love what you hit there.
For sure. Like, well, if you right while you're scrolling, there's a woman in a blue jacket and her hands are at the table, and right above the gentleman with the nachos. This is an example of like where like
Right here.
everything, yeah, the art walk. So this is just an art walk that I got asked to be a part of. And so like it was just the idea of like being able to showcase your work, but like every opportunity that is presented to you, it has um the ability to be something bigger. And so what we did is we kind of like made this little like photo studio inside of like it was an art walk in Beverly, but we built this little photo studio. But we did is made a book out of it. So taking like this opportunity to be a part of an art walk, I then transitioned that into like, well, how can I use this as marketing, or how can I move this into a different space to like really build my brand outside of just this art walk. And so every single time that like something comes up, as far as like I can take a photo of this person, it gives you a window. So that's not just the job. The job is to take care of that need, but also get like, well, how can I build off of this, and how can I build my brand and my identity and my work and get it in front of other eyes. So from this scenario, just like the other story where like, it was then marketed to a bunch of other ad agencies and stuff like that. And the best part is like, I learned from my peers, like, in coming up as an assistant and talking to other photographers and finding a mentor is a really good suggestion for like, the arts field. It's like, you admire people that like, can do the work and that you see their work, buy them coffee, get in front of them, like, see if you can show your work to them, get their opinion and their value of how, like, where you're going, and ask for advice. It's just one of those things that like, I always thought was a great way of learning the craft is to ask those who did it before you.
Brilliant. Brilliant advice right there. John, we had a nice conversation last week with a client of yours, and they were talking about how you kind of started the relationship. You'd reach out to them. So again, so whether it's photography or, you and I listen to a lot of podcasts. I listened to like I was listening to a food manufacturer built this, 9-figure brand, and she was like, giving out samples constantly. So I love what you're saying here, Randy. John, any tips, anything that you want to chime in as far as like business development, kind of putting yourself out there? Sharing your craft, anything that you want to share from that perspective, what Randy just said?
No, I mean, it's it's a different perspective, but I think with social media and technology, you hear like 6 degrees of separation, and really like the other cliche, sliding into someone's DMs, you're really not that far away from people. Now, will they answer it? Are they, how many followers they got? But some of our biggest clients, is kind of just doing some outreach with that. Um, and sliding into their DMs and getting the conversation started. But honestly, like the lead up to send that message, it could be weeks or months, where it's like, I don't know if this is the right time. It's just like it's all in your head of just who cares, it's just a message. It's nothing crazy. It's not as intrusive as showing up in someone's office and saying, hey, I know I don't have an appointment, but I'm here to see you type thing. And that always, doesn't usually go well. Where a message at the right time, there is some luck involved there, but it is a lot easier to get connected to people. And just looking at, like, I was reading on that art walk thing where it's like the concept was you only had 5 shots, right? And
Mhm.
get if you didn't get the shots, it's your fault because you didn't make the connection. And like before I even read that, I was able, like, and I'm not an artist or creative by any means, but like you could tell by those pictures that just by the eyes and like the way like the setting feels, like there was some type of connection being made there, or whatever was being talked about. It was like serious for some people, pretty lighthearted for others, but it wasn't like walking through like a Walmart and looking at the picture frame section. You just see all these like random like stock photo type things. But yeah, pretty cool. And for my own curiosity, I feel like photography. My dad used to be a wedding photographer way back when, and you know, looking at like pictures of him taking pictures and all the equipment he used to lug around, right? Um, Now it's like when iPhone 1 came out, yeah, it was like okay. And now you have like these, I don't even know if I'm using the right terms, but like 15 megapixel cameras and all these different modes and features you could do on your iPhone. Like, is there still like a massive advantage in terms of hardware, like the actual equipment of camera taking, that like those cameras are also getting way better, or is like the iPhone just as good as that stuff type thing? I
No,
have
for
no
sure.
idea.
There's a photographer that I follow that would do a lot of podcasting and interviews. His name is Chase Jarvis, and he wrote a book that was kind of like focused on the idea the best camera that you can have is the one that you have on you, no matter what megapixels. Just because sometimes it's the location and the environment that you land in that could be the best photo. Not so much the idea of like how many megapixels or how what type of lenses. Those are great tools, but because the technology is like kind of bringing them into everybody's pocket, like then it's not so much about the tools as the idea of the connection. And so that whole series of doing that art walk with the five shots, it was two different values that I looked at. One is like, how long do I want to keep somebody? They're in an art
Mhm.
walk. I'm pulling them out of their experience of enjoying art to now be a part of it.
Mhm.
Uh, and I didn't want to have somebody well, let's do some more. So it was a way of like limiting somebody who is an extrovert who wants to like now be in front of the camera for like 20 to 30 minutes. And also like somebody who is an introvert, making them feel that they have to give too much of their time or be like, well, I don't want to do it. I'm like, it's only 5 shots. If we get it, we do. If we don't, we can delete it. So it
Yeah.
was trying to limit that idea of like, yeah, you have like an unlimited amount of photography you can make now because the digital card can hold over 4,000 images, where before you had a roll of 36 or 24
Mhm.
in a camera roll. So it was kind of trying to like limit myself, limit the environment, and from that like really try to dive into what is the relationship part of this, like who are these people, how do I break that down, how do I get something out of them that maybe I wouldn't before.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Like back high school, even college days, having a Nokia brick phone as like the first cell phone I got in college, and then actually carrying around a camera and your
Hmm.
keys and your wallet. That's when cargo pants were really not only trendy but functional. But you go to Walgreens for the weekend and you buy one of those, disposable cameras. You only had 24, and it's like
Yep.
you're making memories, you're partying, you're doing this, but you only got 24 shots, and like don't waste them type thing. And it was cool. And you drop it off, and like on Monday, you pick it up on a Wednesday, and it's like I forgot I even took this, or these people were there, and it's like that. Those days are gone because it's all about like volume now. Like you can take, like you say, you can take a million pictures on your phone, but that's the other thing too. You see so many people like this at concerts,
Hmm.
and we were at a dueling piano things on Friday, and it's like, what are you doing? Are you actually gonna ever watch that? You're recording. It's like, why don't you just pay attention and be present where you're there and like take one picture instead of 2 hours of footage that you're never going to actually go back and watch. And it's like, what's the point? Just so you can throw it up on Facebook and say, I was there. And it's like, I don't know. Yeah, it's just so like, show me about me. And I think the cameras enable that. Now there's positive in that as well. But yeah, I just feel like people have a hard time being in the present because of the access to camera and everything in their pocket, you know?
No, for sure. Like there's a statement that talks everybody's a photographer, because everybody has the ability to do that. And like we're even still with like lighting, like we're like as a commercial photographer, used to hold on to the idea like, why know how to light something properly? And that's still like maybe not in the hands of everybody in their cell phone. But now the cameras are getting so crazy that you can change lighting, you can do all these things. So so it really comes down to the idea of connecting with
Sure.
people. So that's the skill set that I get to walk away with. Is just like,
Yeah.
well, put me in a room and I'll make people comfortable and we can get a better photo than somebody just holding up a camera and shooting
Yeah.
4,000 images. So
I see that.
Well, Randy, this is fantastic. And what we have here, we're taking a look at like, man, what a who's who list of
Yeah.
clients that you've worked with over the years. Incredibly impressive. So again, opportunity for folks to connect with you. We'll have it in the show notes, rmkphoto.com. And so we want you to connect, check out Randy on LinkedIn. And so, Randy, I'm going to transition. Now, I heard you mention skateboarding. Did I hear that correctly? You were like a fierce skateboarder back in the day. Is that correct?
Uh, yeah, I mean, definitely skateboarder from the age of I'm gonna say 12, and still to this day, it's one of those things that kind of like really put its hook in me. It's kind of like also I think kind of the catalyst for my creative like endeavors because like so much of skateboarding is this idea of trial and error and a lot more failure than success. So you keep on going after the same trick and then you finally get it and then the reward is just heightened and instead of like where I feel like a lot of people can take a basketball and toss it up towards a hoop and eventually get a basket sooner than trying to balance on a skateboard and move in one direction side to side left or right up a ramp down a ramp and then make the board flip. So
Right.
and that's like the thing that we had worked on and my business partner Mike, me and him grew up together skateboarding. So like it just most of my really long form bonds with my friendships are from skateboarding.
Nice. Awesome. Well, all right. You piqued my curiosity. I don't know if I'm going off script, but you mentioned the word failure. I couldn't love that more because I'm going to assume you've had a few bumps and bruises over your skateboarding career, maybe like one or two. Is that correct?
More than one. Actually, I believe, I don't know if you can see it. I have a scar somewhere on my left side here from my board hitting me in the face. So yeah, it is a brutal sport.
It's a brutal sport. So, for entrepreneurs, man, plenty of bumps, bruises, scars, battle wounds, that type of thing. So share with folks a little bit on how, and I think you've scratched that surface. I just wonder if you could take it to the next level. How has your skateboarding from 12 on and even up till, right up till today, how has that passion for skateboarding, the friendships, relationships, camaraderie, again, that overcoming fear of failure, taking that chance to try new moves, new things, how has that really transitioned into your entrepreneurial career through adulthood?
Um, the best way to put it would be like skateboarding is a physical attribute. Like, so you have to be like, stay in shape a little bit, like, or kind of like be in a way that your body is kind of the tool in which you can do the action. And you have days where it's like, it's just not working. Like, maybe muscle memory is not there, like something. And the thing is what I thought was really beneficial to learn from skateboarding was like, that's okay. Like the next day is going to be a different day. It has. There's some days where I've gotten on my skateboard and tricks just are popping off, and that's like I'm like that was a good day, and then the following day is when I hurt myself or nothing happens. That really transitions into entrepreneurship for me because like you have like especially for commercial photography, Mondays are a bad day to try to connect with your ad agencies and stuff like that. So Monday's just not a good day to be in that business. You learn that from doing it and like trying to reach out and they're all in Monday meetings and nobody's getting back to you. And so you just got to pivot. So Monday's not a day. So you just reconfigure your schedule based on like, what is working. And so skateboarding helped me learn that. And like, and also the idea of like relationships where I I love skateboarding so much that the culture of it is not about what gender you are, what color you are. It's do you skate, and not even like are you good or bad. It's are you trying? Are you putting forth like effort? And we all look at the idea of somebody who's just new, but they're really going for it. Is like they're a skateboarder. That translates into how I see like my photo assistants, like in different jobs that we were doing as far as like uh, this little entrepreneur's nice card game that we're going to be talking about is who do we see that really connects with it and goes, I can make this bigger. Then that's a better relationship than somebody who's just like, yeah, I can do something for you. So you really learn like who can be a part of your like your ethos, or not so much your ethos, my apologies, your
Ecosystem,
overall
like your
ecosystem.
ecosystem.
Yeah, like who you're like, oh, they get it. And then that's where you can really isolate those people and like those are partners instead of just somebody you hire. And entrepreneurial for me, like you want to find as many partners because that really helps like bring the vision together and you might see avenues that you didn't see before because you were too close to it. You were too focused on one avenue. So that's what I really like how like skateboarding had taught me that stuff. Also, the benefit of you got to pivot. Sometimes like if that trick's not working today, let it go. Try a different one. And if you're going after something in entrepreneurship, like it really does mean like if you hit that wall, it might just be a pivot. And be okay with it, and
I,
learn why that is a benefit.
Well, I absolutely love that. And I think, I'm a blockhead where it's like, hey, let's keep running to the wall over and over and over until finally like, hey, hey, maybe that wall, it doesn't feel so good. That wall's not going to move. And so maybe I need to go around the wall. But I absolutely love what you're saying. I've got your website. I want to jump into that in a minute. You talk about you have a fun educational game that you've created. So we're going to dive there. However, you mentioned the word partnership, and that really perked me up. And so, what John and I always love to preach on the show here is, it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to raise a business, right? And it takes a lot of partnerships, people overcoming your weaknesses. Maybe if you need a good accountant, good attorney, good partnerships, relationships, that type of thing. You have a great relationship with Apparel Redefined. Just share a little bit about like how those relationships in business have been so important to you and your success.
Oh, hands down, by far one of the best relationships we found within Apparel Redefined. I was doing all this research to find a way to keep our inventory down and to kind of like create some sort of like um, a line of clothing along with our product, which is like a physical card game product to help like promote. And we were just finding like that getting something printed in bulk, like was cost prohibitive. We couldn't really afford to do that with shirts that we didn't know were going to sell, and we also needed some place that can like ship our product out physically. So I went through endless meetings with different types of distribution houses and stuff like that, all across the U.S. and ended up finding that Apparel Redefined was about maybe 10 minutes away from my house and was the partner. It was the anomaly in the whole system where they actually could ship our product and do our print on demand. And package it all together. So it was one of those like perfect like relationships where they solved two problems that I had in one location, and then just the people working with there were just phenomenal to like walk through all the little systems and all the things with no hiccups. It was something like where I pretty much got a turnkey house where I just walked in and I'm living. So it was great.
Well, thank you. That's awesome. John, what do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's also why we started doing marketing, right, Kirk? Because no one knew what we do and how we do it. So, but yeah, it's great. It's great, making that connection and providing that value. It's one thing to like talk about stuff and not actually do it, and you see that a lot in our industry. And that's something that we've talked on other episodes. Like my biggest fear is being a hypocrite and not doing what you say and saying what you do. So it's nice to find people that are passionate about their brand and about a cause, and we help them get that out. Get their merch, get their apparel. In this case, these cards. And yeah, it's really fascinating. And like again, my own curiosity. Like, and no offense or anything, I would call like skateboarding like non-traditional, right? Where you have like I come from like traditional sports, hockey, baseball, and one of the things I would kind of build on about the translation from skateboarding into entrepreneurial is the discipline, right? Where I can't practice hockey in a team setting unless I'm going to the rink, right? And I got you got your hour, 5 days a week, games on the weekend. And like skateboarding is like, it's on you, right? Like, you better practice, you better be working on this stuff if you want to continue to get better. And there's not, especially like in that time too, like the X Games and like all this stuff happened in the 90s and kind of like bringing attention to these sports. Um, that like we weren't really allowed to like do. It was always like, hey, I really want to do that, but it's like, hey, you chip your elbow, you're not playing baseball anymore. And then same thing with hockey. You break your knee, you break your wrist, like you're done for your hockey season. But then just like listening to like all these areas I consume content, like I have 4 or 5 guys, and like Andrew Huberman, like I never really thought what he would have been, this big skate guy, right? And like just all these people that he has on that he connects with about skateboarding, and it's super cool. And I had friends that were like part of that group, and they had they're still really close with all those guys that they went. And you do it now, like, or we work out in the morning at 5 in the morning, and it's always like you build strength through collective success and failure, right? And you got 22 guys working out at 5 o'clock in the morning, whether it's raining, snowing, sleeting, whatever. And you don't know these guys from a hole in the wall, but then over time you start building a really solid foundation because you're going through a grind together, whether that be traditional sports, non-traditional sports, military type stuff, whatever it is, like that collective embracing the suck, right? Really builds like real relationships. And it's cool. And your community has always just fascinated me. And kudos to you, man, because it's a lot of discipline. It's a lot of getting up when you hear all the old adage, you got to get up when you fall down, but like you're falling down literally every day, all day, Yeah, it's awesome.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, thank you. There's a comedians in cars getting coffee, where a conversation between Jerry Seinfeld and Chris Rock talk about skateboarders in the way that I'm like, from an outside perspective, they get it. It's like you learn a good lesson you learn more from failure than you do success, and skateboarding is that in a nutshell. And in our own culture of skateboarding, we're having like kind of this issue because it was this castaway sport. Like it was like this thing, but now it's in the Olympics. So in our own culture, we're like, well, what does that mean? Like it's hard to say that skateboarding is a sport because we don't have coaches, like, but now it is listed as a sport in the Olympics. You're like, so it's really comes down to like it's an individual self-expression, but I do it collectively with people who are all individually self-expressing themselves, and it's one of those things where this game that we came up with was like that, kind of like a love letter back to skateboarding. It was a way of kind of like giving back to the thing that gave so much to us, and a way of kind of like bringing in new blood and younger kids and teaching them like the language and all that stuff, because it's very complicated at times, and sometimes it doesn't make any sense. So trying to give them a game, a product, a location, almost like a library of what all this stuff looks like and what it's called and stuff like that is what we came up with.
Yeah,
Man.
It's amazing like how many skate parks now, like you got your traditional playground, and then you got like the ramps and the half pipes and quarter pipes and all this stuff. It's really cool. I mean, like you see kids out there doing stuff, and that was not the case 10, 12 years ago.
Yeah, man, I'll tell you, a love letter back to my trade, my passion. And Randy, drop the mic right there, dude. That was absolutely, gosh, that was good. And the thing is, look what it's done for you. You mentioned Mike, your partner. You guys go back to early days because of this passion. I love you just mentioned Chris Rock and Seinfeld. Getting it. It's now an Olympic sport. You think about snowboarding. It's kind of snowboarding without the snow, right? And I love what you're saying. Like, I could grab a baseball bat and maybe I won't make contact, but I could swing a bat. I could throw a basketball, but man, don't get me on a skateboard because it wouldn't be pretty. So it is a special skill set. And John, you're making a great point. You talk about like, if you have a fear of failure, well, guess what? Don't start skateboarding. If you have a fear of failure, don't go into entrepreneurship. So Randy, I love all these parallels. Let's dive into this game because I think this is the love letter to skateboarding, guys. That was a drop the mic. All right, Randy, what do we have going on here? Please, folks are dying to know what's happening here.
Sure. So in skateboarding, there's a couple different ways of doing it. You can be your own individual person and make tricks up. You can grab the board, spin it. You can do all these things, but there is a what we call a fundamental, like trick structure. Some of them are called like flat ground. So it's just where you're just in the parking lot. You don't have to be on any ramp, and you just manipulate the board with your feet to pop it up, flip it, kick it, and move it in degrees and twists and stuff. Those are like the flat ground fundamentals, and it starts from the idea of an ollie, which was invented by Rodney Mullen, one of the just inventors of majority of these skateboard tricks, a legend in his own right. And so what it was is like we kind of wanted to be able to like illustrate a way in which you can challenge yourself to these tricks if you know them all already. And if you don't, give that somebody a way of having almost like a flashcard that they can flip, read the trick, scan a QR code, and it takes them to a library of that trick example. Like, so this way, like, as far as a content creator, they can make content using the cards as somebody trying to challenge themselves, or even a parent who has a child who's skating and they want to get a little bit closer bond with them, learning while the kid learns as well. It's a great way of like, a dad flipping over a card and asking the kid to try that trick and then learning together what that name is. We also have like would be the grind and slide deck, which is the yellow deck. That is like when you put a skateboard onto ledges or rails or ramps, that deck kind of illustrates some of the tricks that kind of talk about like that application. Both decks actually can be combined, and they do, when you combine them, putting one card down the other, do create a trick that is done in the culture of skateboarding. So where you can do a flip the board into a grind, or a grind and flip out of it. Like these are all scenarios that are there. So both decks combine, like just bring a volume of trick combinations that are just I don't want to say endless, but there's a lot of them. So that's what we built. So the card game itself is a regular deck of 52 playing cards with 2 jokers. So even if you just want to play poker or play spades, any type of game that you play that's traditional, you still can use these cards for that game as well. So it's a way of like, if it's a family playing around and they just want to play like a regular small game of gin rummy, but now the kid in the family who skateboards knows that these cards kind of relate to him specifically. So it's a fun way of integrating that. The one thing that I really, really like about the card game is like in skateboarding and in any sport, like, in baseball, you can bring a baseball to have like, a pitcher or a baseball player sign it. Now you have that keepsake that's smaller. In a bunch of different places, you have baseball cards in the same way they can sign it. This, in my opinion, is I'm hoping takes off in a way where the trick itself is usually like corresponds with a skateboarder and the trick that they do or that they're popular for. So now they can sign that card, and now the keepsake is in that same size. Because right now I have to buy a skateboard and have a professional skateboarder sign it, and I don't really have a way of mounting that or hanging that or presenting that that doesn't, that's in a smaller way that takes up a big portion of my wall space. So we're looking at the idea of like, could this be the new collectible as well? For people to kind of almost go and get their autographs from their favorite pros. And here, what we're at on the website is our apparel line, which we were looking to expand shortly. But this is like a great way of getting like our brand out there, but also our ethos. Like if the shirt on the right is like this try, redo, sketchy, get it, toe drag, rebate, landed. These are all like phrases that like are populated in our culture of skateboarding, but it's really like, based on the idea of like, you got to go through all this and then bolts. Bolts is the reason we named it the card game that is because when you land with your feet above the bolts on the skateboard, that means it's the cleanest you can land the trick. So the best way you can land any skateboard trick is on the bolts, and now it's become part of the a slang where it's like he's like, oh, he did it bolts, means that he did it the cleanest he possibly could. So with that little slogan, that we have all those different this try, like redo, sketchy, like those are some of the things you go through before you get to landed bolts. So it's kind of like it's like everything is a journey for skateboarding, and we want to hopefully be a part of that.
Wow, I absolutely love it, and I apologize if I missed this. I don't know if you mentioned in the beginning what inspired, like where was like the first idea, like, hey, I think we have an idea here for a game. Like what was that? Where was that idea? Where did that idea come from?
Honestly, it came up around like 15 years ago at a skateboard park that I helped design. And we were just like looking for things to do. And initially, there was like some ideas about like using dice. And then while that idea was kind of being formulated, somebody else had that idea. That is a really important point in I think entrepreneurship is the idea of like when you have an idea, really vet the idea. I came up with the dice, and but before I can even look about bringing it to market, somebody else, someplace else, did the same idea. Those are things that happen. Like it's like creative people make creative things all over the place. And from that, we kind of like were like, well, we looked at playing cards and see if we can make this work. So it's been a long time coming. We didn't really feel like the market really opened itself to the need or the value of a deck of cards with the game on it because we had all of our skateboard magazines were really prolific. We had a bunch of them. We had videos coming out constantly, but because of like everything pushing to online and Instagram and stuff like that, we're losing our magazines. We're losing like a lot of the video productions that were out there. So now we see that in the market there's a need for this application of like teaching. And then in the new value of content creation, it seems like this is a great place to like help people market themselves with also helping market our product. So it just seemed like the timing worked out really well for both me and Mike to kind of like bring this to market.
Awesome. Okay, I know I've probably kept us way more than we should have. John, let's we'll start winding things down. I get so caught up in just I love, the origin story, the entrepreneurial story, just the idea, the creativity, bringing that idea to life, the relentlessness, talking about failure, overcoming failure challenges. Your thoughts I want to thank you because you introduced me to so many incredible entrepreneurs that are tagging their business and making a great living and really driving revenue with apparel. Your thoughts as we wind down here with Randy today.
No, it's a phenomenal idea. I mean, you're capturing education, um, diversification of tricks. I mean, like, yeah, and then just traditional card game. And I do really do like the idea of like giving the homage to like the guy who created the trick and then giving like a vehicle like, hey, I got these signed and potentially like, hey, I got the entire Bolts deck signed by and you could frame that and stuff. And yeah, really cool and totally portable. Like it's not anything you really have a problem throwing in your pocket and going to the park. And just yeah, I actually want to go down and open a deck, okay, and look at all the names because it does. I mean, going back to PlayStation, like the Cool Borders games and like learning all those words for the different tricks and stuff. But really cool stuff, and yeah, really appreciate your partnership and um, really looking forward to having this be a massive success because you get that rare combination of product that makes a lot of sense, has a really good market and a good message behind it, and I think you got all three there.
Awesome. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So great, whatever holiday, whenever you catch this, great gift for your skateboarder out there, birthday gift, holiday
Sure.
gift, stocking stuffer, whatever it might be. And again, like John just said, just, checking a lot of boxes. Fun, educational, getting your child involved in, or adults into other aspects, playing card games, and who doesn't love sitting around the table playing card games? So my goodness gracious. Randy, as we take it home, parting thoughts, words of wisdom, anything that you want to share with folks as we close out, just kind of sharing like your entrepreneurial journey, what it's take to get you where you are today. What are your thoughts there as we close out?
I mean, going back to that idea that you brought up earlier about the idea of the partnership, and I think that is like such a huge component of going down the path of entrepreneurship. It always like puts people in this category of like it's you have to do what you have to do, wear all the hats. You have to like when you start off you're doing checking every box, and the sooner you can realize that like maybe that's not the best use of your time, and to find a partner who can do that for you and focus on that, like the faster you actually can grow as a business. And that's where the relationship with Apparel Redefined like really just took us from possibly mailing this out from my house as like like what most startups do. We just became from like a small little startup to now an established brand that like can take care of the needs of apparel and our product getting in your hands right away, and in such a short timely manner like that. I learned so much from partnering with Apparel Redefined, but also was talking with Derek about like, just the logistics. And then that me and him were at Apparel Redefined the other day, and I was geeking out. I'm like, how this all works. And so to be able to like have that relationship where I actually get to learn about like the inner workings of their business, it was awesome. It was just like it was night and day where I'm like, now I feel more confident in our brand because we like if there's a request, we went from coming out the gate and launching to then being able to ship to Europe and all these different countries because of Apparel Redefined, where it would have been just shipping to the States. We just doubled our reach, like, exponentially. So it was great. But yeah, no, I appreciate you guys so much for the time to chat about this. It was awesome to kind of put my thoughts out there. So I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Well, Randy, thank you. We're going to close out. Hang out with us for a minute here. We just want to thank everybody for joining us. And again, John, thank you for just, these sessions are just, man, for me, so inspiring, educational. We're all in this together. We're stronger together. And when we can bring in entrepreneurs like Randy and like get this story, just absolutely love it. So Randy, hey, how about a big round of applause for Randy for absolutely crushing it. So Randy, keep firing on all cylinders, man. Keep it going. We can't wait to have your partner Mike on the show. And again, thank you for all that you're doing. We wish you a phenomenal, wherever you're catching this. We're closing out the year at this time. We wish you a phenomenal, successful new year, and we can't wait to talk to you soon. So hang out with us 1 second, and we'll catch you next week.